Hi there, Dave here with our min-max report from the Flight Log 3 application. And we hadn't quite got it finished from class, and so I've gone ahead and finished it out. The change that I made was down here. I said if I was still less than that, then go ahead and do the split flights thing. And I was just doing that because of the way I was doing some other stuff. I was just doing it automatically, and it wasn't a problem. But now it's a problem. So I had to put that in, and then everything worked just fine. The idea of the min-max report is to really show you that it's really quite similar to the previous report. Instead of having totals down at the bottom of the site, like I have in the site report, what I do is I have the minimum, the min, and the maximum distance. And so I set my minimum and maximum, my lowest and highest distance here, and then go ahead and display them here, just as I would the totals in the previous report. So my inner loop, instead of adding things up that can be divided or whatever, what I'm doing there is the innermost loop, I'm determining whether or not the one that I'm on is the distance is higher than the highest or lower than the lowest. Could be both. And so I'm going ahead and checking against this value here, which I set arbitrarily high for a low test and arbitrarily low for a high test. The reason I do this, it was discussed in class. Somebody said, well, couldn't I just compare the first value with the next value and do it that way rather than have this arbitrary? And the answer is yes. The reason I use these values here is because it's easier. It's easier when you get to the bottom of the array. When you first do the first compare is real easy, and then you can add to the next one. But when you get down to the bottom, the logic becomes more confusing in your comparison than if you use a value like this and you just go from the top of the array to the bottom of the array comparing against these values. It's easier code for somebody to understand. It's easier code to write. And if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and write it and check it out. But that's the reason, is to make the code simpler. And so it's exactly the same. I even put a total down here. I added this. This was not in the one that we started. I have the num sites here. So that would be the grand total. So num sites, and every time I print a line for the highest and lowest for a site, I add to the number of sites, and then down at the bottom I print the number of sites. So there's the grand total. And it makes the min-max report look ever so much like the previous one, and that's the point. All reports are the same. We're just doing little detailed things and showing different things, but we're going through things inside of things inside of things. Take care.